The ice cut through everything. The wind on 9 never stopped and the cold went straight to the bones. Swung his pickaxe into the frozen ground one more time. His hands were numb. His back ached. But he kept working because stopping meant punishment and punishment meant death. 3 years ago he had been a commander in Earth's defense force. He had led armies and won battles that everyone said were impossible to win. When the Empire came to Earth, humanity had fought back with everything they had. For 3 long years they held the line, but in the end Earth fell, Sol burned, and became a prisoner. Now he was just another slave in the ice mines, digging for crystals they used in their ships. The guards walked between the prisoners, their tall bodies wrapped in warm suits while the humans froze. They looked almost human, but their skin had a blue tint and their eyes were too large. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Keep moving," a guard said, hitting a prisoner who had stopped to rest. The man fell into the snow and did not get up. Kept his head down and kept working. He had learned that lesson early: fight when you can win, survive when you cannot. The sirens went off suddenly. All the prisoners stopped. The guards started shouting orders. Something was happening, something big. "Everyone to the assembly ground, now." The prisoners formed lines in the open space at the center of the camp. The wind hit them hard without the mine walls for protection. Stood with the others, waiting. His friend Dongwu stood next to him, shivering. "What do you think this is?" Dongwu whispered. "Nothing good," answered. Ships appeared in the sky, not the usual transport ships. These were warships, huge and covered in weapons. The prisoners watched as the ships landed. The camp commander came out and for the first time ever saw fear on a face. Then she appeared. Empress Hen walked down the ramp of the largest ship like she owned the universe. And maybe she did. She was tall, taller than the guards, and she moved like water. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly. Her hair was long and white, and her eyes were the color of ice. She wore armor that looked like it was made from starlight. Behind her came soldiers in black armor. These were not regular guards. These were her personal warriors, the ones who destroyed entire planets. The camp commander bowed so low his face touched the ground. "Your Imperial Majesty, we are honored." "Be silent," she said. Her voice was soft, but somehow everyone heard it clearly. "I am here to see the prisoners." She walked along the lines of humans. Her eyes looked at each face. The prisoners tried not to look back. Looking at the Empress directly was forbidden. It meant death. But when she reached, he looked up. He did not know why. Maybe he was too tired to care anymore. Maybe 3 years of slavery had burned away his fear. Or maybe he just wanted her to see him as a person, not an animal. Their eyes met. For a long moment neither looked away. Something passed between them that could not name. Surprise, recognition. He saw her eyes widen slightly. "You," she said, "what is your name?" He answered. His voice was rough from the cold. "You were a commander. I have read your reports. You should not have won those battles." "We had something you did not expect," said. "And what was that?" "Nothing left to lose." The camp commander made a sound of horror. Talking back to the Empress was worse than looking at her. But Hen raised a hand to stop the guards from grabbing. "You are not afraid," she said. It was not a question. "I am afraid," said honestly. "But fear does not stop humans. It makes us fight harder." Something changed in her expression. It was small but saw it. Interest, maybe even respect. She turned to her soldiers. "This one comes with me. Prepare him for transport." The camp commander protested. "Your Majesty, he is dangerous. He knows things about Earth's defenses." "That is why I want him," she said coldly. "He will be questioned properly on my ship." The soldiers grabbed. Dongwu looked at him with fear. Everyone knew that prisoners taken to the Imperial ship never came back. Was taken aboard the largest warship he had ever seen. The inside was warm, which was shocking after months in the cold. The soldiers brought him to a room and made him clean up. They gave him new clothes that were not rags. Then they took him through halls that seemed to go on forever. Finally, they brought him to a massive chamber. The walls showed the stars outside. In the center of the room, sitting on a throne made of black metal, was the Empress. She dismissed her guards with a wave. "Leave us." "Your Majesty, he could be dangerous." "Leave us." Her voice carried command that could not be questioned. The guards left, and the Empress were alone. She stood up from her throne and walked down to his level. Up close, she was even more beautiful and more frightening. "Do you know why I brought you here?" she asked. "To kill me." "Perhaps, or perhaps to understand something. Your people should have fallen in months. We are stronger, faster, more advanced. But you fought for 3 years. Why?" "Because Earth is our home. Because we would rather die fighting than live as slaves." "But you lost," she said. "Yes, but we made you earn it. Every city, every battle. We made you pay for Earth and blood. That is worth something." She studied him for a long time. Then she did something he did not expect. She smiled. It was not a kind smile, but it was real. "There is a prophecy," she said. "It says I will meet someone from a forgotten world, someone who will destroy me. When I saw you today, I felt something I have not felt in a very long time." "What did you feel?" asked. "Uncertainty." She walked around him slowly. "I have ruled for 300 years. I have conquered 1,000 worlds. I am called the Queen of Nothing because I turn everything to ash. But you humans, you are different, and I want to know why. So you are keeping me alive to study me." "I am keeping you alive because you interest me. And because maybe, just maybe, you are the one from the prophecy. If you are, I need to understand you before you destroy me." Looked at her directly again. "I do not believe in prophecies, but if you hurt my people, I will fight you with everything I have, even if it means my death." She laughed. It was a cold sound but genuine. "Good. I would expect nothing less from the man who held Seoul for 8 months against impossible odds." She returned to her throne. "You will stay on this ship as my advisor. You will teach me about humans, and I will decide if the prophecy is real or just words. And if I refuse, then everyone on 9 dies, starting with the one you call Dongwu." Felt anger burn in his chest, but he pushed it down. She had him trapped, for now. "I will stay," he said. "Excellent," she gestured, and guards entered the room. "Show him to his quarters. He is not a prisoner. He is my guest." As the guards led him away, looked back once. The Empress was watching him with those ice-colored eyes, and he wondered if he had just made a deal with the devil herself. The quarters they gave were bigger than his entire house on Earth had been. The walls were smooth metal that changed colors with the light. There was a real bed, soft and warm. A window showed the stars moving past as the ship traveled. For a prison, it was comfortable, but knew better. A cage was still a cage, even if it was pretty. He had been on the ship for 5 days now. Every day, the Empress called him to her chamber. Every day, she asked him questions about humanity, about Earth, about war. And every day, answered honestly because he knew she could tell when he lied. They had machines that read heartbeats and body heat. Lying was pointless. But something strange was happening. The questions were changing. At first, she asked about military tactics and weapon systems. Now she asked about music, about food, about why humans made art. She seemed hungry for knowledge, like someone who had been alone for too long. On the 6th day, a human came to his quarters. The man was thin and wore the gray clothes of a worker. He looked scared. "My name is Dr. Dawu," the man said quickly. "I work in the science division. I do not have much time. I need to tell you something important." Listened carefully. Dawu explained that he was part of a secret resistance. Humans scattered across the empire were planning something big. They were building a weapon, something that could destroy the Imperial flagship. The attack would happen in 3 weeks. "Why are you telling me this?" asked. "Because you are close to the Empress. Maybe you can help from the inside, or maybe, Dawu looked away, maybe you can escape before the attack happens. After Dawu left, sat in the dark and thought, 3 weeks, a weapon that could kill the Empress and everyone on this ship. It could free humanity, but it would also kill thousands of crew members, many who had never hurt anyone. And it would kill the Empress, who was starting to seem less like a monster and more like a person. That night there was a formal dinner. The Empress had important guests from across the empire, was required to attend. He wore clothes they provided, dark and formal. When he entered the dining hall, everyone stared at the human among them. The Empress sat at the head of a long table. She wore a dress that looked like it was made from liquid silver. Her white hair was arranged in a complicated style. She looked like a goddess, cold and perfect. "Come," she said, "sit beside me." The other guests looked shocked. A human sitting beside the Empress, it was unheard of, but no one dared to question her. One of the guests, with scars on his face, spoke up. His name was Minister Eth, and had learned he was ambitious and dangerous. "Your Majesty," Eth said with false politeness, "is it wise to let this human sit with us? He is a conquered enemy. He should bow before you." Everyone looked at. The room was silent. This was a test. If bowed, he would show weakness. If he refused, they might kill him. The Empress watched him with those ice-colored eyes, saying nothing. She wanted to see what he would do. Stood up slowly, he looked directly at Eth. "I have knelt to no one who did not earn it," said clearly. "Your Empress conquered my world, that I respect. She won through strength and strategy, but respect is not given through fear or threats. It is given through recognition. She knows this even if you do not." The room was so quiet could hear his own heartbeat. He expected guards to grab him. He expected death. Instead, the Empress laughed. It was a real laugh, not cold or mocking. It was the sound of someone genuinely amused. "Well said," she declared. "Minister Eth, perhaps you should learn from this human. He understands power better than you do." She turned to, "Sit, eat. You have earned your place at this table." Eth's face darkened with anger, but he said nothing. Sat down, his heart still racing. The dinner continued, but barely tasted the food. He felt the Empress's presence beside him like heat from a fire. Once, their hands almost touched, reaching for the same dish. She pulled back quickly, but saw something flash in her eyes. Surprise, uncertainty. After the dinner ended and the guests left, the Empress told her guards to leave too. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "Come here," she said too. He joined her at the window. For a while, they both just looked at the universe outside. "I need to tell you something," she said finally. Her voice was different now, softer. "There is a prophecy. It was spoken 300 years ago by the Oracle sect. It says, 'The Queen of Nothing shall meet her mirror in flesh. Born of the forgotten world, he carries the seeds of empire's end. Love him and fall, destroy him and wither.'" Looked at her. "And you think I am this person from the prophecy?" "I do not know, but when I saw you on 9, I felt something. Recognition maybe, or fear. For 3 centuries I have been certain of everything. I built this empire with my own hands. I turned my enemies to ash. I became the queen of nothing, but now," she turned to face him, "now I am not certain, and that terrifies me." "Why are you telling me this?" asked. "Because I am tired of being alone," she said simply. "I have ruled for so long. I have advisors and generals and servants, but no one speaks honestly to me. They are too afraid. You are not afraid, or at least your fear does not stop you from speaking truth." Understood then. She was lonely, the most powerful being in 3 galaxies, and she was lonely. "The prophecy asks a question," said slowly. "Are you truly destined to destroy me, or am I destined to destroy you? I do not believe in destiny. I believe in choices. But I will be honest with you. If I can save my people, I will do whatever it takes, even if it means facing you." She nodded. "I would expect nothing less. That is why," she stopped, as if unsure how to continue. "That is why I find you fascinating. You are honest even when honesty could kill you." They stood together at the window for a long time. Neither spoke, but something had changed between them. It was small, fragile, like the first crack in ice before the spring. Finally the Empress said, "You should go, it is late." Turned to leave, but at the door he stopped. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why did you conquer Earth? What did we do to you?" Her expression became distant, sad. "Nothing, you did nothing. But 300 years ago another empire came to my world. They wanted to destroy us, take our resources, kill my people. I was young then, a soldier. I watched my family die. I watched my cities burn, so I made a choice. I would become stronger than them. I would conquer before being conquered. I would be the monster so my people would never be victims again." "And did it work?" asked. "Yes, my people are safe. The empire is strong, but the cost," she looked away. "The cost was everything else. Love, trust, peace. I became the queen of nothing because I had nothing left inside." Felt something he did not expect. Pity. This woman had everything but was emptier than any prisoner on 9. "Maybe it is not too late," he said. "For what?" "To find something other than nothing." She looked at him with those ice-colored eyes, and for a moment they were not Empress and prisoner. They were just two people who had lost too much. "Go," she said quietly, "before I say something I cannot take back." Left, but as he walked back to his quarters he knew everything had changed. The Empress was no longer just his enemy. She was becoming something else, something dangerous. And in 3 weeks, a weapon would destroy this ship and everyone on it. Had a choice to make. The attack came early, woke to the sound of alarms screaming through the ship. For a moment he was confused, still half asleep. Then he remembered, the resistance, the weapon, but it was supposed to happen in 3 weeks, not now. He ran to the window. In the distance he could see explosions. Ships were fighting, small resistance vessels against the massive Imperial fleet. It was suicide, but they were doing it anyway. That was humanity, always fighting even when losing. Guards burst into his room. "You are confined here by order of the Empress," one said. They locked the door from the outside. Paced the room like a caged animal. What was happening? Was out there. His sister had joined the resistance after Earth fell. He had not seen her in 3 years. The thought of her in one of those small ships, fighting against impossible odds, made his chest tight with fear. Hours passed, the alarms kept going. The ship shook sometimes when explosions happened nearby. Finally, the door opened. The Empress walked in and her face was terrible to see. Not angry, worse, betrayed. "Did you know?" she demanded. Could have lied. Maybe she would have believed him, but he remembered what she said about honesty. "Yes," he admitted, "but I did not give the order. I did not know it would happen today." "Why did you not warn me?" Her voice shook. "We spoke honestly, you and I told you things I have told no one, and you knew this was coming." "They are my people," said. "They are fighting for freedom. Would you betray your empire for someone you have known for a few weeks?" The logic was sound, but it did not matter. He saw the hurt in her eyes, saw how his silence had wounded her. She had started to trust him, and he had kept this secret. "Take him to the brig," she told the guards. "Standard prison cell, no special treatment." As they dragged him away, looked back. The Empress stood alone in his quarters, looking smaller somehow. Less like a goddess and more like a person who had just lost something important. The brig was dark and cold. They put him in a cell with metal walls and no windows. He could still hear the battle outside, muffled by the ship's hull. He sat on the hard bench and put his head in his hands. He had made his choice, for his people, but it felt wrong somehow. Time passed. He did not know how long. Then Dr. DeWoo appeared outside his cell. The scientist looked terrified. "How did you get in here?" asked. "I work in the science division. I have access. Listen, there is something you need to know." DeWoo's voice was shaking. "The quantum weapon, it is still active. The attack today was not the main plan. The weapon will detonate in 48 hours. Stood up fast. What? Where is it? Hidden in the engine core. When it goes off, it will destroy the entire flagship. Everyone on board will die. That is 30,000 crew members and 5,000 human prisoners they use as workers. Can you stop it? Asked. No, the Resistance designed it to be impossible to disarm. They believe the sacrifice is worth it to kill the Empress and cripple the Empire's command structure. After Dawu left, sat in the dark and thought, 48 hours, the Empress would die, all those people would die. And yes, the Empire would be hurt badly. Maybe humanity could win freedom from the chaos. But the cost, all those lives, and the Empress, who had started to become something other than his enemy, who had shown him her loneliness and pain, who had laughed genuinely for the first time in decades because of something he said. He thought about what she had told him, how she became a conqueror to protect her people, how she had lost everything to gain power. Was he really different from her, both of them willing to sacrifice anything for their people? Meanwhile, the Empress stood in her command center, watching reports of the battle. The Resistance attacks had hit multiple prison colonies. Thousands of human prisoners were free now. Her generals surrounded her, demanding action. We must respond with force, General Orr said. Destroy the colonies, make an example. That would kill billions, another advisor said. Many are not part of the Resistance. Then they should have controlled their people, or growled. The Empress said nothing. She watched the screens showing freed prisoners celebrating, mothers holding children, men and women crying with joy. She had seen this before, on her own world, 300 years ago. Your Majesty, Eth said carefully, the prisoner must be executed publicly to show we do not tolerate traitors. He is not a traitor, she said quietly. He is a soldier doing what soldiers do, protecting his people. You are too soft on him, Eth said. It weakens you. She turned to look at him, and her eyes were ice. Question my strength again, and I will show you what weakness truly looks like. Eth stepped back afraid. That night she went to the brig alone. The guards looked surprised but let her through. She stood outside cell for a long moment before speaking. I reviewed the battle footage, she said. I saw your sister. She led the attack on 9. She fights well. Stood up, do not hurt her. I will not. If she surrenders, I will grant her mercy. The Empress paused. I am offering this not as a punishment to you, but because it is right. Why? Asked confused. Because you asked me once if it was too late to find something other than nothing. I think you might be right. I watched humans fight today, not with rage but with hope. They believe they can win. Even when the odds are impossible, they believe. I used to be like that, before I became the queen of nothing. She moved closer to the cell bars. I have spent 300 years building this empire. I thought I was protecting my people, but now I see what I have become. A tyrant, someone who rules through fear. Is that really strength? I do not know, said honestly, but I know that real strength is not being afraid to change. They looked at each other through the bars, so close but separated by metal and choices and all the blood between their peoples. There is a quantum weapon on this ship, said suddenly. It will detonate in less than 48 hours. It is in the engine core, impossible to disarm. The Empress went very still. Why are you telling me this? Because thousands of innocent people will die, and human both, and because, stopped, surprised by his own words, because I do not want you to die. She looked at him with something like wonder. I am your enemy. I conquered your world. Yes, but you are also a person who has been alone too long, who did terrible things for what seemed like good reasons, who is trying to figure out what is right. Grip the bars. Maybe the prophecy was not about physically destroying you. Maybe it was about destroying the queen of nothing so something real could exist in her place. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she called for guards. Release him and evacuate the ship. Everyone, we have 48 hours. Move quickly. Your Majesty, we cannot abandon the flagship, a general protested. We can and we will. I will not sacrifice lives needlessly. Move. The evacuation was chaos. 30,000 crew members and 5,000 prisoners being moved to other ships. The Empress worked beside her people, helping, organizing. Saw her carry an injured human prisoner to safety. The Queen of Nothing, covered in dirt and sweat, helping a human slave. But Eth was not helping, he was planning. As the evacuation continued, Eth made his move. He took control of a section of the Imperial Guard with promises of power. He imprisoned the Empress and together in one of the evacuation ships. The Empress has been compromised by human influence, Eth announced to the fleet. I am assuming control as regent. My first order, destroy all human colonies, no survivors. Trapped together in the small ship, the Empress and looked at each other. I think, the Empress said, the prophecy is coming true after all. Then let us prove prophecies can be wrong, answered. They had hours before the quantum weapon detonated, hours to escape, hours to stop Eth from killing billions. And maybe, just maybe, hours to save each other. The ship was small, meant for short evacuations. It had basic controls, no weapons, and barely enough fuel to reach the nearest planet. Eth had locked them inside with guards posted outside. Through the window, they could see the Imperial flagship in the distance, still being evacuated. The quantum weapon ticked down inside it like a deadly heart. How long? The Empress asked. Check the small computer panel. 36 hours, maybe less. She sat down heavily. Without her armor and throne, she looked almost ordinary, almost human. Her white hair was messy from the evacuation work. Her clothes were dirty. I have ruled an empire for 300 years, she said quietly. Now I am a prisoner on a tiny ship, waiting to be executed by my own minister. It would be funny if it was not so pathetic. You are not dead yet, said. He examined the door. It was locked from outside, but the mechanism was visible through a small gap. And Eth made a mistake. What mistake? He put us together. He should have separated us. 2 minds are better than 1. The Empress almost smiled. You think we can escape? I have escaped from worse. Once, I got out of a prison camp using only a piece of wire and a prayer. That story is in your file. I read it. You also lost 3 fingers to frostbite. But I escaped, pointed out. He pulled a thin piece of metal from his boot. During the evacuation chaos, he had grabbed it without thinking. Old habits. I am going to pick this lock. When I do, we need to move fast. Can you fight? She looked at him like he had asked if water was wet. I have been fighting since before your grandparents were born. Yes, I can fight. It took 20 minutes to pick the lock. When it clicked open, they waited, listening. The guards outside were talking, not paying attention. They did not think the Empress and a human could be a threat. They were wrong. The Empress moved first. She was fast, faster than any human could be. She grabbed the first guard and used his own weapon against him. Took the second guard, using training from years of war. In seconds, both guards were unconscious. Not bad, the Empress said, checking the guards' weapons. You are better, admitted, faster. 300 years of experience. Come, we need to get off this ship before Eth realizes what happened. They moved through the ship quietly. It was mostly empty, everyone focused on the evacuation. They reached an escape pod. It was tiny, barely enough room for 2 people, but it would get them to the planet below. Wait, the Empress said. If we leave, Eth will proceed with his plan. He will kill billions of humans. If we stay, we die when the flagship explodes, said. We need to survive first. Then we can stop him. She nodded and they climbed into the escape pod. It launched with a hard jolt, throwing them against the walls. Through the small window, they watched the fleet get smaller as they fell toward the planet. The planet was called 5, a jungle world with thick forests and dangerous animals. The pod crashed hard into the trees. They climbed out, bruised but alive. "Now what?" the Empress asked. "Now we survive, and we find help." They walked through the jungle for hours. The Empress had never been on a planet like this. She had conquered worlds, but always from ships and command centers, never in the dirt and mud. She kept slipping, kept getting caught on branches. Who had trained in jungles on Earth moved easier. He found water, found food, found shelter in a cave. They sat together in the dark, listening to the night sounds of an alien jungle. "I have never felt so powerless," the Empress said. "No guards, no weapons, no throne, I am nothing here." "You are not nothing," said. "You are just a person that is different." "How do you do it?" she asked. "You lost your world, your people are slaves, you have every reason to give up, but you do not. Where does that strength come from?" "Thought about it. From knowing that giving up helps no one, from understanding that even when you lose, the fight matters. We held Earth for 3 years against you. We lost, yes, but we proved humans do not break easily. We proved we matter. That is worth something." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I told you I became the queen of nothing to protect my people. That was true, but there is more. I became the queen of nothing because I was afraid, afraid of being weak, afraid of being hurt again. So I hurt others first. I built walls so high that nothing could reach me, but those walls also kept me trapped inside." "Walls can be broken," said. "Can they? After 300 years?" He looked at her in the darkness. "I think they already are breaking. You evacuated the ship to save lives. You offered mercy to. You are sitting in a cave with your enemy instead of killing him. Those are cracks in the wall." She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool, smooth. "Are we really enemies?" "I do not know what we are," admitted, "but we are not enemies anymore." They sat together in the dark, holding hands like two people trying to find warmth in the cold. The next day they found a resistance outpost. It was hidden in the jungle, a small base where rebel fighters planned attacks. When the Empress walked in, everyone froze. "Do not shoot," said quickly. "I know this looks strange." A woman stepped forward and his heart nearly stopped. It was his sister. She looked older, harder, but alive, alive. She whispered, then she saw who was with him. Her face went cold. "Why is she here?" "It is complicated," said. "Listen, Eth has taken over the fleet. He is going to kill everyone, billions of people. We need to stop him." "Why should we trust her?" Pointed at the Empress. "She destroyed Earth. She killed millions of our people." "I know," said, "but she is trying to change, and we need her help. The Imperial fleet will not follow us, but they might follow her." Another woman stepped forward. "Friend, the quantum weapon detonates in 6 hours. When it does, the flagship is gone. Eth's command ship becomes the main target. We can strike then." "No," the Empress said. Everyone looked at her. "Eth is smart. He will have prepared for that. You need the Imperial codes to access the command ship's defenses. I have those codes." "You would help us?" asked Suspicious. "I would help stop a madman from killing innocents," the Empress corrected. "What I did to Earth I did as a conqueror. It was war. But what Eth plans is slaughter. I will not allow it." Looked at her brother. "You trust her?" "Yes," said without hesitation. "Then you have changed," said. "The I knew would never trust her. The you knew was fighting a war. The war is over. Now we are trying to build something new." The resistance was suspicious, but they agreed. They had one chance. When the flagship exploded, they would strike. Human fighters and defectors who remained loyal to the true Empress. It was a small force against the might of the Imperial fleet. They prepared quickly, worked with the resistance leaders planning the attack. The Empress worked with the defectors, convincing them to follow her again. Together, they built a plan. As they worked, noticed something. The Empress was different here. She did not order people, she asked. She listened. She worked beside them instead of above them. The Queen of Nothing was gone. Someone new was taking her place. 6 hours passed. In orbit above them, the Imperial flagship exploded in a ball of fire. The quantum weapon had worked perfectly. The ship that had ruled 3 galaxies for decades was gone in a flash of light. Now said. The attack began. Small ships launched from the jungle. Defectors opened fire on Eth's forces. Humans fought with everything they had. And at the center of it all, the Empress and worked together like they had done this their whole lives. The battle was brutal. Ships exploded. People died. But slowly, impossibly, they started winning. The Empress's codes worked. The defectors fought harder than Eth's reluctant forces, and humanity showed once again that they never gave up. Finally, they cornered Eth's command ship. The Empress sent him a message, her voice carried across the fleet. Eth, you called me weak for showing mercy. You thought compassion was failure, but you are wrong. True strength is having power and choosing not to abuse it. True strength is changing when change is needed. Surrender now and I will show you mercy. Refuse and I will show you why I am Empress. Eth laughed. You have destroyed everything you built, Hen. For what? For a human. No, she answered. I destroyed an empire of fear. Now I will build something better. The final battle was short. Eth would not surrender, so they had to fight. When it ended, he was dead and the war was over. In the aftermath, the Empress stood on the bridge of her new command ship, stood beside her. Around them, and humans worked together, cleaning up the mess. What now? Asked. Now, she said, we build something new. 3 months had passed since the battle. 3 months of hard work, difficult choices, and slow change. The Empress had done something no one expected. She gave up absolute power. She created a council, half and half human, to help govern the empire. Many were angry about this. Many humans did not trust it, but it was a beginning. Worked with the council as an advisor, helping humans and understand each other. It was exhausting. Every day brought new problems. Old hatreds did not disappear overnight. Some still saw humans as inferior. Some humans wanted revenge for what had been done to Earth. Building peace was harder than fighting war. The Empress changed too. She no longer wore armor constantly. She walked through the halls without dozens of guards. She listened to people, even when they disagreed with her. The Queen of Nothing was truly gone. In her place was Lyra, just Lyra, trying to be a better leader. But some things were still broken. Earth was still in ruins. Millions had died. The scars of war would take generations to heal, and some days wondered if what they were building would survive. He had not spoken privately with Lyra in weeks. They were both too busy. He saw her in council meetings, saw her working late into the night on treaties and reconstruction plans. But they had not been alone together since the battle. One night could not sleep. He walked through the ship's observation deck looking at the stars. He did not hear her approach. You are thinking too much, Lyra said from behind him. He turned. She wore simple clothes, not her formal robes. Her white hair was loose, falling past her shoulders. She looked tired but peaceful. I cannot stop thinking, admitted. Every day I wonder if we did the right thing. So many people died. So many are still suffering. And I helped you keep power instead of destroying the empire completely. She came to stand beside him at the window. You think we should have let it all burn? I think some people believe that, certainly does. She told me I chose you over humanity. Did you? Thought about that. I chose the option that might save the most lives, that might give us a chance at real peace, but I do not know if it was right. That is what makes you different from me, Lyra said quietly. For 300 years I always knew I was right. I never questioned my choices. I was certain. And that certainty let me do terrible things without guilt. She looked at him. You question everything. You doubt. And that doubt makes you kinder than I ever was. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. There is something I need to show you, Lyra said. Will you come with me? She led him to a shuttle. They flew down to the planet below, realized with a shock that it was Earth. He had not been home since the war ended. The ship that had brought him from Nine had never returned here. They landed in what used to be Seoul. The city was still mostly ruins, but there were signs of rebuilding. Lights in some buildings, people in the streets, humans and working together to clear rubble and construct new structures. "This is what we are building," Lyra said. "Not an empire of conquest, a union of cooperation. It will be messy. It will be slow, many will hate it, but it is better than war." Walked through the ruins of his home city. He saw places he remembered, the market where his mother used to shop, the school his sister attended, all destroyed, but people were rebuilding, step by step, brick by brick. They stopped at a memorial. It was simple, just a wall with names carved into it. Names of everyone who died in the war. Millions of names. Found his mother's name, his father's, friends, soldiers he had commanded. He knelt in front of the wall and cried. For the first time since the war began, he let himself feel it all. The grief, the guilt, the weight of every choice that had led to this moment. Lyra knelt beside him. She did not say anything. She just stayed there, present, sharing the pain. Finally stood up. His eyes were red, but he felt lighter somehow. "They deserved better," he said. "Yes," Lyra agreed. "They did, and I cannot give them back what was taken, but I can try to make sure their sacrifice meant something. I can try to build a future where this never happens again." "Can you really change?" asked. "After 300 years of being one thing, can you become something else?" "I do not know," she admitted. "But I want to try. You showed me that change is possible, that admitting weakness is not the same as being weak, that sometimes the strongest choice is choosing mercy." They walked to a hill overlooking the city. The sun was rising, casting gold light over the ruins and the new construction. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. "What do you want?" Lyra asked. "You have freedom now. You could go anywhere, do anything. What do you want?" Thought about it. 3 years as a soldier, months as a prisoner, weeks as an advisor. He had been so focused on survival and duty that he had forgotten to think about what he wanted. "I do not know," he said honestly. "For so long, I only thought about the next battle the next day. I forgot how to think about the future." "Then figure it out," Lyra said. "Take time, find yourself again. The council can function without you for a while." "What about you?" asked. "What do you want?" She looked at him with those ice-colored eyes, but they were not cold anymore. They were warm, alive. "I want to learn how to live," she said. "Not just exist, not just rule, but truly live. I want to know what it feels like to trust someone completely, to care about something more than power. She stopped, uncertain. "To what?" asked softly. "To love," she finished quietly. "I have never loved anyone. I have been alone for 300 years by choice because love is a weakness, but maybe I was wrong about that too." His heart beat faster. He knew what she was saying. He had felt it too, growing between them over these months. Something that should not exist between a conqueror and her victim. Something that broke every rule. "The prophecy," he said. "It said you would love the one destined to destroy you and fall." "Yes, and I realized something. The prophecy was right. You did destroy me. You destroyed the Queen of Nothing. You destroyed my certainty, my walls, my empire of fear. But when you destroyed that, you showed me something could grow in its place." She reached out and took his hand. "I am not asking for forever. I am not asking you to forget what I did to your world. I know I do not deserve forgiveness, but I am asking for a chance, to try, to see if someone like me can learn to be better." Looked at their joined hands. Hers was pale blue and elegant, his was and rough. They should not fit together, but they did. "I do not know if I can forgive everything," he said honestly. "Too much has happened, too many people died, but—" he squeezed her hand. "But I think I can try, one day at a time." She smiled. It was small, uncertain, nothing like the cold smiles of the Empress. It was real, human, beautiful. One day at a time, she agreed. They sat together on the hill watching Earth wake up. Around them, people began their day. Humans and worked side by side. It was not perfect. There were arguments and mistrust, but they were trying. Below them was helping rebuild a hospital. She saw her brother on the hill with the former Empress. She did not wave, did not smile, but she did not look away either. It was something, a beginning. Weeks turned into months. The council slowly became more effective. Trade agreements were made. Prisoners were freed. Reparations began. It was messy and complicated, but it was progress. And Lyra spent more time together. They walked through rebuilt cities. They talked late into the night about philosophy and history and dreams. They learned about each other beyond the war. Slowly, carefully, they built something neither had expected. 1 year after the battle, there was a ceremony, the official end of the war, the signing of peace treaties. Leaders from across the empire came to Earth for it. Stood in the crowd, watching. Lyra gave a speech. She admitted her mistakes. She apologized for the pain she had caused. She promised to spend the rest of her long life making things right. It was not enough for many people, but it was honest. After the ceremony, she found him in the gardens. "What do you think?" she asked. "Did I do well?" "You did," said, "but you know some people will never forgive." "I know. I do not expect forgiveness. I just hope for the chance to earn it." They walked together through the gardens. Earth's flowers were growing again, brought back from seeds saved during the war. It was a small thing, but it meant something. Life returning. "I have been thinking about the prophecy," said. "It said you would love me and fall or destroy me and wither. It presented two bad endings." "Yes, both meant doom." "But it was wrong. You loved me and you did fall. You fell from being the untouchable Empress, but you did not die, you just became human, real, and that is not doom, that is salvation." Lyra stopped walking. She turned to face him. "You think so?" "I know so. The Queen of Nothing is dead, but Lyra is alive, and that is better." She kissed him then, soft and careful. It was her first kiss in 300 years. It was his first kiss since before the war. It was not perfect, but it was real. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. "One day at a time," she said. "One day at a time," he agreed. The future was uncertain. There would be more struggles, more conflicts, more pain. Building peace was the work of generations. But for the first time in years, both of them had hope. The Queen of Nothing had found everything. The human destined to destroy her had saved her instead. And together, they would try to save both their peoples. It was not a perfect ending, but it was a real one, and sometimes that was enough. Above them, Earth's sky was clear and blue. The sun shone down on a world healing, and two people who should have been enemies walked together, hand in hand, into whatever came next. The war was over. The real work was just beginning, but they would face it together, one day at a time, building something new from the ashes of the old. And that was worth everything.